Hello, and welcome to Cite in APA, an ELAC Libraries online workshop. Let's go over our goals for this workshop. By the end of this video, you should be able to define citation and plagiarism, cite a book and an article in APA style, and know where to go to get help with citing your sources. When in college, your professors will expect you to use outside resources and to use them ethically in your research. Citing is simply the formal way that we give credit to those outside sources that we use in our research. It involves using someone else's words, ideas, or creations, and then acknowledging the original source of that borrowed information. On the flip side, plagiarism is the opposite of citing. Plagiarism is the act of using someone else's words, ideas, or creations without giving them proper credit. Remember, this is against your student code of conduct, so consequences can include failing an assignment, failing a class, or even getting expelled. So remember, you'll always want to cite your sources when including paraphrased or summarized information that you found from a book, an article, film, or any other outside source that you're using in your research. You'll always want to cite your sources when using a direct quote from a person or a source, and you'll always want to cite your sources when referencing graphs, charts, data, or any other images from an outside source. A basic rule of thumb is that any information or ideas that are not of your own creation should be cited unless you can consider it common knowledge. So how do I cite my sources? The simplest answer is you'll want to follow a style guide or style manual. Style guides and style manuals are discipline specific, and they give you directions on how to format your research paper and your citations. Ask your professor which style you should be using when citing your sources. For this workshop, we're going to be focusing on APA style. APA style is coming from the publication manual of the American Psychological Association, and they're currently on the 7th edition of this title. In APA style, you'll be using in-text citations that refer your readers to a full bibliographic citation at the end of your paper in what's known as a references list. So you'll see on the left a parenthetical citation, which is simply a shortened version of a full citation that can be found in a references list. Now, don't feel scared. You generally don't have to remember or memorize all of your APA rules. It's most important that you know where to go to get help and where to go to find the directions on how to format your citations and your research paper. ELAC Library has an APA 7 guide that you can access at researchguides.elac.edu/citation/APA. The Excelsior Online Writing Lab also has an extensive APA guide that you can access at bit.ly/ExcelsiorAPA. Make sure to capitalize APA. And YouTube also has tons of videos to walk you through the mechanics of APA formatting. Let's get into some basic rules of APA style. For your in-text citations, here's the formula. Now remember, these are the shortened versions of your full citations that you'll use in the body of your research paper to alert your reader that you are citing an outside source. Generally speaking, the formula includes the author's last name, a comma, the year of publication of the source, a comma, and a page number or paragraph number if you are using a direct quote. Here's an example. Mandelbaum, 2002, page 477. Here's another example if your source that you're pulling from has two authors. You'll use both authors separated by an ampersand or and symbol. And if you're using a source that has three or more authors, you'll only use the last name of the first author listed, followed by et al, meaning and others, and that will let your professor know that your source has three or more authors. Now, how do you go about creating those full citations for your references list? Your first step is to figure out your source type. Are you citing a book chapter, an online interview, a scholarly article? The reason you'll need to identify your source type is because different source types need different identifying information in order to build a full citation. Once you've identified your source type, then you'll need to identify the information needed to cite that source. That information usually includes a title, author, the date created. If it's found online, you'll need to find the URL or DOI, Digital Object Identifier, everything you'll need in order to cite that source. Next, you're going to follow the formatting of the APA style guide. That means you'll need to pay attention to the order of those citation ingredients. For example, remember the author comes before the title. You'll also remember to pay attention to punctuation, such as commas, periods, spacing, italics, capitalization rules, and quotation marks. Let's go over the basic rule for citing an online ebook. The simplest way is you'll need to find the author's last name. Then you'll need to find the year of publication, the title of the book, and the publisher. Most often, this information can be found on the book's front title page and sometimes on the verso page or the inside of the first couple pages of the book. In this case, we have two authors, so you'll list the authors in order that they're shown on the source, and you'll notice in APA style, the naming convention is you use the author's last name first, comma, then you use the author's first initial, and if listed, their middle initial. So in this case, we have Honeycutt, comma, J, period, M, period, and the second author listed, Cantrill, comma, J, period, G, period. In APA style, you'll also note that the date of publication comes right after the author's name and is included in parentheses. After the year of publication, you'll put the title of the book in italics and note the capitalization. You only capitalize the first word of the title. Next, you'll include the publisher name, in this case Routledge, and since this book was found online, you'll also need to include a hyperlink to where your readers can find this book. Next, let's go over something a little more complicated, a scholarly journal article. This is your basic formula for citing scholarly journal articles in APA style. You'll use the same naming convention, that's last name, comma, first initial. Then you'll use the year of publication in parentheses, followed by the title of the article with the first word capitalized only, followed by the title of the journal and volume of the journal italicized, and the issue number not italicized and in parentheses, followed by the page range, and if you found this article online, you'll also need to include a hyperlink. Usually this will be a DOI or digital object identifier or a URL. Let's take a look at an example. In this case, you'll notice we have many authors listed. In APA 7th edition, the rules now state that you must list up to 20 authors in a full citation. So if you have less than 20 authors, you will list them in the order that they're listed on the resource. After the authors, you'll include the date of publication in parentheses, followed by the title of the article. And notice the title of the article, you only capitalize the first word of the article. And next you have the journal title. For journal titles, you do keep the capitalization as listed on the journal, and make sure you use italics for the journal as well as the volume number. Next to the volume number, you'll include the issue number in parentheses, and notice the spacing. There's no spacing between volume and issue number. Next, you'll have the page range, and after that, the DOI or URL link to the article. If you're having trouble finding your citation ingredients, oftentimes you'll be able to find them quickly in the database record. In this case, you can see the title in bold, the authors listed in order, followed by the source, which gives you the journal information, the date of publication, volume and issue number, and page numbers. You can also find this information usually in the header or in the footer of the first page of your scholarly journal article. Next, let's go over some basic formatting for your actual research paper. APA style does call for a separate cover page. You'll need to double space the entire document. You'll need to use in-text citations whenever you use outside ideas or quotes. This will be your shortened full citation in parentheses. And for each in-text citation, you should have a corresponding full citation at the end of the paper in a references list. In that references list, you'll use a hanging indent for each citation, and you'll use the same double spacing throughout. Let's go over what are some of the new changes to the 7th edition. So if you're familiar with APA 6th edition, you'll want to take note here. In the 7th edition, you'll no longer need to include a running head or header on student papers. In the 7th edition, you'll need to use et al. For in-text citations with 3 or more authors. And they've expanded the number of authors you can use in the reference citations all the way up to 20 authors. So if you have 20 or more authors, what you'll do is list the first 19 authors, you'll use the ellipses, the ... and then list the last author listed on the source. Now, DOIs and URLs are presented as hyperlinks, and you won't need to include the words DOI or URL. Additionally, you won't need to include the words retrieved from anymore. You just list the hyperlink. And finally, they no longer include the place or city of publication for the publisher. You just list the publisher when you're citing a book. Some quick notes to end with. Microsoft Word does have APA templates that you can use. You can type in the letters APA and do a search, and you should see templates for APA style papers. Next, don't forget ELAC Library has an APA 7 guide that you can download and access at researchguides.elac.edu/citation/APA. Excelsior Online Writing Lab also has an excellent in-depth APA-style website that you can access either by Googling Excelsior OWL APA or by typing into your web browser bit.ly/Excelsior APA, capital APA. And don't forget, if you need help with some of the mechanics of citing, such as creating double spacing, creating a hanging indent for your citations, YouTube is a great place to check. All right, so now it's your turn. If you're taking this workshop for credit or extra credit, you'll need to complete the online worksheet at bit.ly/CiteWriteAPA form. And don't forget to capitalize the C, R, and APA in that link. Once you submit your answers, an email will be automatically sent to you with your responses, which you can forward to your professor as proof of completion. One more time, that link is bit.ly/capital C for cite, capital R for write, capital APA, lowercase form. bit.ly/CiteWriteAPA form. Thanks for watching.